Welcome to Advanced Trapping. We're calling this tape advanced not because you're seeing any techniques that you haven't seen before, but we're putting them together in a different way, a way that's going to really stress the attribute development. To quote Bruce and Dan, in training we do about 95% traps, 5% punching. In the fight we do 95% punching and 5% trapping. We do this to facilitate, again, the attribute development. So what we're going to do is borrow a terminology from the Filipinos called sumbrada, which is counter for counter. And we're going to use that using the Junfon traps. So stay with me. As I've said before, the Filipinos have a unique way of training. They call this sumbrada. This literally means counter for counter. If we were to do this the way the karate people do it, when I throw a weapon out, he blocks the strike, and then I sit here and dissecting the corpse, as Bruce would say. The Filipinos do things a little different. The minute one strike goes out, he's coming back with something else. Then I'm coming back, he's coming back. So everything is done in a counter-for-counter fashion. This develops attributes. So what we've done is we've taken the mentality of sumbrada and we've put it together with the traps of Junfon. Okay, now the very first trap we're going to do is called a paksao. Dion is going to come in with a paksao, and that's the first shot. Now, what I'm going to do to counter that, as opposed to just blocking, which is what we've done in the past, is I'm going to come with a jiao sao, or a running hand. This hand can go high or it can go low. Dion, let's get you on this side. So the second Dion comes in, boom, I'm coming up with this shot. This is a slap to the ear. So I'm countering his trap. This is the beginning of our sumbrada flow. Again, boom, right to the ear. So let's work those first two traps, a paksao to a jiao sao. We're going to start off reviewing again. Okay, Dion. Dion comes in with a paksao. I counter the pak with a jiao. This is a slap on the ear. Let's put the helmet on for that. What this is, we're going to cup the hands. You want the fingers together, not too tight, and keep a loose wrist. As you rock back, you just slap that ear. Okay? So as soon as he comes in with the pak, that's just on the ear. Okay, so now, as I come back with that jiao sao, Dion is going to raise up one of those gates and punch me straight in the face with what we call a tan sao. Okay, so we're doing three traps now. A pak to a jiao, freeze there, to a tan. And this is where we want to end up. So those are three traps in about less than a second. It's just, boom, that's the position. And this is our last trap, a tan sao. Now let's review what we have so far. Dion. Dion comes in with a paksao. I'm countering with the jiao sao. As I come with a jiao sao, he puts that up to the tan sao. This is what we have so far. This puts us in what we call a two-hand exterior reference point, meaning in the fight at some point we're stuck here. And the guy who knows how to move from here first is going to win, as with any reference point. So let's take it from the beginning again. Pak, jiao, tan, and now from this two-hand reference point, I'm going to come in with what we call a jet sao. In order for me to facilitate your quan sao, which is what is going to counter the jet sao, we need to go into another drill. And this is called the harmonious spring drill. This brings out a particular energy that is conducive to countering jet saos. So what we're going to do, I am going to jut Dion's hand, and he's either going to come up with a bong sao or a tan sao. And that's the energy that we want, which is going to help the quan sao. Okay, so D, this is all he's doing, is he's sticking. I'm trying, don't do it, I'm trying to get that shot in. But as I do, he sticks to me. It's almost like a glue. It's a harmonious spring energy. So when we have two hands on the outside, which would be from this position, Pak Jiao Tan, right at this point when I jut, he doesn't know which hand's gonna come in, my right one or my left one. So he needs to come to what we call a Quan Sao, which is a combination Tan and Bong. Don't get too confused with the terms. There's only about 6, and we keep repeating them. So we go Pak, Jiao, Tan, Jut, and then his next move is gonna be Quan. Okay, let's look at it again. 1, 2, 3. Now right from here, his right Bong Sao and his left Tan. Boom, now freeze there. That is a Quan Sao. This is how you block a Jut Sao with a Quan. So let's look at it again. Remember, this is Sombrada. We're going back and forth, real slow. 2, 3, right from that point. So whichever hand I jut with, he's gonna spring because we did that harmonious spring drill. So if I jut here, boom, that's the Tan. If I jut here, that's the Bong. When you put them together, that's the Quan. So one last time. Let's see if we can get that far. Now let's take a look at it one more time from the top. Dion. Okay, we're gonna go real slow. Remember, this is Sombrada. This is counter for counter. Everything we're doing, he strikes, I counter him, he counters me. This brings out the attributes. It's a different type of training. It is a more advanced type of training because it's more difficult, not necessarily because it's more effective. If you look back at our old tapes, the straight blast tape, you saw 99% punching, very little trapping. Now this is the other side of the coin. All right, let's take it from the beginning. Dion Pox, I jowl, he tons. I jut, he quans, freeze right there. Now from this quan sao, his next strike is an inside pock. Boom, that's his next strike. So we're gonna get just that far again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. One more time, let's take it from this angle. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's his inside pock style. One more time, Dion, lock that punch out on the inside so they can really see it. 1, 2, 3, and 4, right there. This is gonna be my next counter, is I'm gonna have to counter this move, so we keep the action going. Now let's take it from the top again, Dion. Dion comes in with the Poxal. I jowl to his ton. Now I'm gonna jut to here. This is his inside Poxal. Boom. The minute this punch comes here, I'm gonna take this hand and I'm gonna zone out, slapping the kidney. It's nothing more than a low jowl sow to come back up to here. This move comes from Kali, and they use this with a knife. So from this two-hand exterior, he comes in with a Pock. I am cutting and then just taking it back out there. When we don't have the knife, it's the same thing. We'll just take it from here, Pock, boom. Come back out and punch. Again, real slow. This is from two-hand exterior. He pocks. I catch it here. That clears his whole line. Bam! That's my slap. And then I just go back onto the face to my follow-up. Let's look at it from this angle, Dion. So he pocks. I jowl to a taunt. Boom to a jut. Inside pock to a slap. And we're back out to here. This is going to start things all over again. This is our complete rotation. So formally, this was our last technique in Sombrada, which is a low jowl sow to the kidney. Now again, we're going to take it from the beginning. I want you to keep in mind that what we're doing here is called Sombrada, and that is a training method developed by the Filipinos, and it means counter for counter. It develops attributes. If you've never seen the sticks before, at least I want you to see the pattern in which we're doing so we can repeat this over and over. And eventually patterns are made to be broken, which we will do with the empty hands. So I'd like you to see the relationship where one side starts with the angle 1 and we do the roof block, then we do the whole Sombrada pattern until the other guy gets to go. And it forms a complete circle. And in the process of doing this, we're developing the proper attributes that you're going to need for the street fight. So let's see the relationship with the empty hands. Okay, first we'll go with the sticks. Okay, I'm going to shoot an angle 1. He's going to go roof block. Again, I'm not trying to teach the weapons. I just want you to see the relationship. So this is a roof block, an angle 1, drop stick, wing block, shield. Now I go roof. Then we go back on the left side. Now he goes roof. And all this is made to do is to eventually break. And when you break the pattern, then you can do what you want to do. So we do the same thing with the empty hands. If you remember, he came in with a pock, jowled here. As soon as we get this, that was the quan. This was our last move, which was here. Now when I come in, he's going to come to here. He's going to jut now. I'm going to bong, boom, come back around, and we're back out to here again. So we have the whole pattern all the way in a full circle. Let's take it from the beginning. Now our next training method is called numerada. Numerada means one side feeds and the other side zones. Again, this is a training method and it brings out a completely different set of attributes that are relevant to the street fight. So I want you to see what we're doing. We're not trying to show you the numerada with the sticks, that's another tape, but we do want you to at least see the association. I'm going to be doing all the feeding and Dion is just going to be doing his thing. He's going to be zoning and he's sort of expressing himself. It's a completely different concept from the Sombrada, which was a counter for counter. This means one side feeds and you can angle. Okay, so let's look at the numerada. I'm feeding. See, Dion is doing his thing. There's no clue as to what he's doing. There's no limits as to what he can do. But the key is, Sombrada now, the key is we're not doing this, which is what we were doing before, but I am doing all the feeding. Good, D. And this brings out a different set of attributes. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the same relationship, only from the weapons to the empty hands. Now what you just saw was numerata, where one side was feeding and the other side was, again, just doing his thing. When you're doing numerata and when you have one side feeding, the other person can literally be doing anything he wants to do. With the weapons, it could be any amount of the strikes, the abanico, the sumquete, the florete, the redondo, the bacalao, any of the weapons that they have. When you put down the weapons, we can go into any of the arts that we choose, whichever ones we want to get better at the time. We're going to start you out at locking. It's a simple art. We know you know most locks anyway. We're just going to review them quickly, and we're going to get to where one side's feeding and the other side is just doing locks. Okay, Rich, let me borrow you. We're going to keep it real simple. A few basic locks. You guys know locks already. Every art in the world's got that. Your wrist lock, your elbow lock, your downward elbow lock, your figure four. You come back around to your shoulder lock. Your basic locks, but we're going to be repeating them over and over. Rich is going to be feeding the punches. Dion is going to be receiving the punches with nerve hits, which is the most economical way to do that, but then he's going to flow right into locks. And we're going to keep in the confines of numerata just by doing locks first. Now stay with me. Now we're going to take a look at the numerata one more time. I want you to look at it from the feeder's vantage point. Just look at the person feeding. Rich will be the feeder. And then they're just going to drop the weapons. He's going to continue the same mentality, the same feeding. The only difference is we're not going to have weapons in our hand, and we're going to go to the art that we just worked, locking. Okay, ready, guys? And go. Okay, stay there and just throw the weapons down and just continue the feed. Notice who's feeding. Rich is feeding. And break. Okay, now, again, Rich is doing the feeding. Dion is taking the punches from the guntings and then just going into any lock. But what he's needing to do is determine what line of attack is coming in so he can go to the appropriate gunting. So he's learning line familiarization. Then when the punches are coming, he's having to zone to what we call zero pressure, so he's putting in footwork. We could go on. The attributes are numerous. The point is, when we go to numerata, it changes your whole spectrum of attributes, from reflexes and counter to counter to footwork, spatial relationship, and line familiarization. And the final analysis, when you put the whole training method together, then you put on the helmets, put on the gloves, and you can go for it because you've got all the attributes you need for a street fight. Okay, let's take one more look at it. What we just saw was numerata. Remember, numerata is a Filipino training drill in which one side feeds. The other side can do anything they want, any art they want to put in. We stayed at locking. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add, in addition to locking, dumog. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with dumog. Hopefully we should know dumog already. I'm just going to show you a few points. Rich. Our first dumog position is the pull on the forearm. From the outside, it's the same thing. We grab the forearm here, you can push it or you can pull it. We go to the head, it's the same thing. We twist this way, we go forward this way, we can come back out to this, come back up to this control. So basically, Dumog is the ability to take a body and move it where you want it. When we combine the Dumog with the arm locking, well, that's going to put together a slightly different element. Let's take a look at it. Okay, you ready, guys? And go. Grab his head. Now we just saw Dumog. What I'd like you to do at home is note the points where you're seeing a Dumog position, where you see a chance where Deanne can grab that arm and shove him or pull him. Or sometimes he would grab the head and do the same thing. If the arm extended itself, you saw an occasional arm wrench in there. So this is how we get good at the elements. Just like a baseball player, slowly pitching grounders back and forth to his partner until he gets the grounders down. If he would have just wait till he gets into a game to get grounders, it's going to take him 1,000 games to pick up maybe 5,000 grounders, where someone can sit here and hit them 5,000 in a row. So if we isolate things, this expedites our training. So far we have locking, we have Dumog, now we're going to isolate foot sweeps. Now foot sweeps are incidental if not accidental. We want to add this point. Okay? If the foot is there, you take it. If it's an element we want to improve, we're going to stick it in. Again, in a street fight, 99% of what you're going to be doing is going to be this stuff. Headbutts and elbows. If the foot's there, take it. Okay, your basic foot sweep. We got to clear this line. So we get into here first. As I'm going to take this right out. That's the inside foot sweep. That's your first basic line. So I go 1, 2 here, take this, and boom. If I'm in a slightly outward position here, I can take the foot sweep this way and take it. So you have an inside and outside foot sweep. On a very rare occasion, you will go all the way over to that rear leg by coming across here. A little longer to go, longer to travel. As long as you're hitting, you can work your way to that. So when you see the opportunity, when you see Rich leaving his leg out, Deon's going to stick in a foot sweep. We'll pick him back up again, and they're going to continue their action, just adding one more element. Pause for a moment here and just take each one of the elements and let's show them to you. The first element we did was locks. This is our lock position, just to go through a few basic locks. I think the second thing we did was Dumog. This will put us in the Dumog position here. Then we went into some foot sweeps. This is our foot sweep position here. So we take each one of these techniques and you can look at them separately, or you could look at them in the big picture when one side is feeding. It's much more difficult to go that route. This is why it's advanced trapping. The next art we're going to put in now is Tai Chi. At this point, it's important for you to know that when I say art, I'm not talking about the whole art. Bruce just hand-picked bits and pieces of each art. Sometimes it was just principles or concepts. And then we take these pieces and we train them in the part method. And then we put the part methods together and we come up with the whole method. So we're adding Tai Chi to Numerata, which is just one more piece of the puzzle. When you put the whole matrix together, this is the whole method. When you put on a motorcycle helmet on someone, throw on the gloves and say, do whatever you want. And then when you look at yourself retroactively on the videotape and you say, ah, that was a headbutt or there was Tai Chi, you'll just see a little bit or piece of all of this training. And that's what it's for, just that little element of Tai Chi, just when it's needed. This is where Bruce was at, changing from art to art. Now let's look at Tai Chi and examine why we would even use it. It's basically an art to shove a body. Why do we want to shove a body? Maybe you just got a good elbow. He's about like that. You want to get him through a plate glass window, into a car, whatever. Any reason you want to propel a body. Rich, give me a jab. Tai Chi from this point here, just a little shove. That's all I want to do is move him. Okay, if I get into this position, boom, boom, that's all I'm wanting to do. Just get that body out of the way before I grab the next. In our mass attack tape, you'll see a lot of Tai Chi. So we're going to add Tai Chi to the matrix of what we're doing. Okay, guys. Okay, ready? And go. Time out right there. What I'd like you guys to do is notice while they're doing their thing, see if you can pick which art. See if you can say, ah, that was a Tai Chi shot, or there was an inside Pak Sao from Wing Chun, or there was a headbutt from Kali. So I want you to take your time out, put it in slow motion, and see if you can pick the arts. And you'll see Dion's using them just when they're appropriate. Okay, guys, just continue what you were doing. That was just fine. Now for our next and final element, we're going to add the headbutts, knees, and elbows. I'm clumping them all together. So we have locking, we have foot sweeps, we have dumog, we have headbutts, knees, and elbows, and we have Tai Chi. I want you to remember that it is important that you don't have to have just those 5 arts. You can put in any art you want. Your existing art already. If you stick it in the matrix of numerata, all you'll be doing is improving the attributes of that art. Now we should know what a headbutt, knee, and elbow is. If we don't, let me just show you. Boom, this is one line, or we can work the elbows off here, boom. Okay, so what we're gonna do is just put those two together. The only difference is Rich is gonna be feeding and Dion is gonna be doing it out of numerata, once again. I'm gonna put the whole thing together now, guys. All right, ready? And go. Now in this example, we're going to be bringing out the point of just what percentage of traps we do in a fight to punching. Again, to reiterate, we do 95% trapping, 5% punching. In the real street fight, it's going to probably translate to 95% punching, 5% trapping. That 5% in a fight is if you happen to get stuck, you just put your trap in, you go right back to your punches. If your Jack Chun Choi is working, you just let it work. Let's take a look at it. Dion, come on in. Rich, put the helmet on. Now, as we see, there's a lot of footwork, there's slipping. I'm going in with my blast. You're noticing the hand hit the helmet many times. If Dion were to happen to put a hand up and block it, that's when a trap would have come in. Otherwise, we're gonna keep blasting till we grab the helmet, put in our elbows. Well, I hope you enjoyed advanced trapping. Remember, the theme to this tape was self-perfection. working the part of the fight that we're not actually hitting, but when we get stuck, when we have to use energy, when we need those attributes. And borrowing numerata, borrowing sumbrata from the Filipinos just enhances this. So we hope you enjoyed the tape, and happy trapping.